Well, I'm not entirely convinced that that the route that I'm going to be following here, even once I get out of the city.
At the stop sign, turn left onto Rank Avenue.
Okay.
Then turn right onto East Walnut Street.
Turn right. All right. How do I give this GPS a name? Like it doesn't, I don't know.
At the light, turn right onto East Walnut Street.
Yeah, I guess this is East Walnut Street. Okay. Take your word for it. That's what it says on the sign.
In 1.1 miles, turn right to merge onto US 30 East.
Only if I survive. Wallace's Indian Paths in Pennsylvania, I think, routes this on 23. He takes 999 to 23. So we're now on 23, and I am just going to follow that. And I hope that I can. I'm kind of thinking that Pleasure Road would be taking me more like the historical.
Use the right lane to merge onto US 30 East.
But I'm not sure that that's right. And we just have the most brilliant signage here in Pennsylvania that can be imagined. Like, I have no idea where 23, it just disappears. So how am I to know whether I'm following the route of it? How do I get to 23 again? It doesn't tell me. I got no idea. I was on 23 just now, I think. But I don't know what this is now. I mean, I know that this is 30, but I don't know what 23 is. Apparently I'm misled.
In 1.2 miles, take the exit onto Old Philadelphia Pike in Pennsylvania Route 340.
So what this is going to do is it's going to take me by Old Philadelphia Pike to Horseshoe Road, which will then take me to 23. But I think that there's another way that I can go that takes me directly to 23, but I just
Use the right lane to take the exit onto Old Philadelphia Pike in Pennsylvania Route 340.
This is possibly the most charming section of the whole.
Take the exit, then turn left onto Old Philadelphia Pike toward Intercourse.
For people who are fans of brutal.
At the light, use the left lane to turn onto Old Philadelphia Pike toward Intercourse.
Intercourse. Okay. How about to Intercourse?
Turn left.
Turn left.
Save 7 minutes via US 222 North.
No. No thanks. Just take me the way that you were going to do. this is more or less Smoketown, and the building to our left that now says like Treehouse was and possibly still is Martin's Pretzels. I'm not sure what the tree. No, I guess it's Treehouse, whatever that is.
In 4.9 miles, turn right onto East Main Street.
We don't have anything like the depth of architecture as many places in Europe have, but by the standards of the United States, we do have some interesting depth of architecture here in Lancaster. Horseshoe Road also makes an interesting study, and I do think that this is not terribly far off route-wise to come back to the Indian Paths in Pennsylvania theme. So now we're not on 23, but we're approaching 23. This is our connector from Old Philadelphia Pike, and this road itself, Horseshoe Road, in many ways has the features that Wallace identifies as being characteristic of native paths, pre-European paths in Pennsylvania, what today is Pennsylvania. The chief of which, I think, is that they are what you might say high and dry. So they tend to follow ridge lines so that there are very few water crossings. Now, Pennsylvania is characterized by small streams, just they're everywhere here. They are very liable to flood, and so to find a route that is one you can travel without getting muddy or having to jump over streams and that sort of thing, that's highly desirable, and the natives very quickly plotted those things out. And the only deviations in those paths have to do with, places where a tree is growing in more or less, the line of route, and there has to be some kind of deviation, because it's like fallen trees particularly will cause deviations. But anyone with a fair amount of experience in woodland paths, woodland walking paths, knows that when big trees fall down on a major path, somebody comes along and somehow justifies the path, or people just start going around until the path kind of just shies a little bit to the one side or the other, and compensates for it somehow. Walking paths are very similar to waterways in that respect. Now, this we just coming up over this little ridge here, makes me think again that we're maybe not really on the native path. We're certainly not on the path that Wallace laid out in his book. But I also know that in this area, a lot of these paths, for such reasons as fallen trees, do deviate, and they also have, sort of like variant routes. So, once you get up to this point, you could turn to the left and you could come around. You're going to end up in the same spot, but, it's like that's the one side of the ridge, or you could go down the other side of the ridge. Now we start to see off to our right, the Welsh Mountain and also Georgetown Hill, although I don't know that the video is going to pick that up. Probably a portion of Welsh Mountain as well. So let's see, what is this town? This is Leola, I think, that we're coming up into now. And one of the so fascinating things about Horseshoe Road, and I think I started to say this, is that there's this industrial, all kinds of plastic-looking things that are being made along here, and alternating with Amish, and the imposition seems more jarring maybe than it should be, because I think very often Amish folk are working in these industries, and that's, that would certainly be convenient. Now,
at the next stop sign, turn right. Again,
probably not in the video, but there's a charming little old school building, elementary school building off to our left.
At the stop sign, turn right onto East Main Street.
So, this East Main Street, onto which we are to turn, aka State Route 23, aka New Holland Avenue, or New Holland Pike. We're in Leola now, but we're on our way to New Holland and Blue Ball, and then on toward Morgantown. So soon we're going to really have the sightline advantages. I think I was routed this way as much as anything else because of where I was, but in terms of contemporary driving,
for 16 miles, continue straight.
The really, really straight, that another feature of Wallace's identification of Indian paths is that they tend to be straight, when taken as a whole. Like if you look at them in a large scale, they're very straight. Your lived experience of walking on them might have been winding a little bit back and forth, with minor contours of the land. But the overall trend of these paths is usually not even really curved at all, but pretty much just straight lines right across, wherever it is, whichever direction you're going. And that's fairly well what we see with this particular route. There are quite a few stretches where you can see a long way. It's nice to see, too, some of the older houses that are along here being maintained sufficiently that, they can be relatively easily restored to full, to a full use and, an attractive state. Some of them are a little shabby at the moment, but particularly these brick houses, we've passed quite a few so far, built in the middle of the 19th century, so like 1840 through, say, 1870, 1880. And again, there's a lot of infill from later periods, but this area seems to have gone through a real housing boom in around the time of the American Civil War, give or take 20 years. And you find that throughout Lancaster County. This was just doing quite well at that time. People were building nice, substantial houses. And even into the first quarter of the 20th century, the houses from that era are usually substantial. They're often of brick. They have pretty simple. Their floor plans are not very complicated, and they have a lot of features useful to the kinds of things that you face when you're not quite so internationalized as we are today, not so globalized. And certainly, they'll have things like coal chutes, or working fireplaces that can be, or working chimneys, maybe I should say, that can be associated with wood stoves or coal stoves, something of that sort. And I think it's unfashionable at the moment to think too much about wood stoves as being an an acceptable future. But trees are renewable and they take up carbon, and you kind of think about the possibility of having copses instead of parking lots. If this CVS parking lot here were a copse of ash, maybe mixed with other things, because ash, monoculture is where we get into trouble. So maybe I shouldn't say a copse of ash, but there's a copse that can be used for some of it anyway. It can be used for firewood. I don't know how many homes that serve, probably only one or two. Okay, so maybe not the greatest example, but the land is available. It's just being used differently. We don't tend to coppice on our suburban lots. We just have grass. And it's really just a loss. But we tend not to